Right, so hello and welcome back to Books and Things, and welcome to the second vlog of Victober. So, today is the 11th, I think it's the 11th. Let me check my watch. Yes, it is the 11th of October. So we are just over a third of the way through October, a third of the way through Victober, and I thought I would just start this vlog by telling you what I'm currently reading, because I'm currently reading a few things. So I'm currently about 3/4 of the way through The McDermotts of Ballycloran by Anthony Trollope, which is Anthony Trollope's debut novel, and this is fantastic so far. I'm really loving it, and in fact some big drama has just occurred, so I'm now like really keen to get further on with it. It is set in Ireland, and it's a story of a family, the McDermotts, and chiefly of the sort of two young people of the family, a brother and sister, who are both kind of being led into danger in different ways. And we're following them and also their priest, Father John, who is trying to get them out of danger. And it's just so good. I just love Anthony Trollope so much, so that's great. And then I'm also listening to not one, not two, but 3 audiobooks, just to confuse me. So I'm listening to Shirley by Charlotte Bronte, which is a reread for me. In fact, all 3 of the audiobooks are rereads, so I don't really mind actually listening to 3 at once because I've read them all before. So I'm listening to Shirley by Charlotte Bronte, which I'm really enjoying so far. Industrial historical novel. Lots going on. I'm also listening to Hester, which is the group read. Really wonderful work on domestic realism, just so great. I'm so loving my reread of Hester. And then I'm also listening to The Hand of Ethelberta by Thomas Hardy for Jen the Librarian's Thomas Hardy read along, which I'm just loving as well. I just love Thomas Hardy so much. And The Hand of Ethelberta is a really interesting novel about a woman who has moved into a very different social sphere than the one she was raised in, and kind of about how she navigates that. And yeah, it's just great. I'm really enjoying all of my Victober reading so far. So over the next week, I'm going to try and finish The McDermotts of Ballycloran and start some other things. I have been really busy the first third of October with work, and I'm working this weekend, but I'm handing in a big project on Monday, and after that I should have a bit more time to read. So I'm looking forward to getting stuck into some other Victober books. So yeah, that's where I'm up to now, and I will keep you posted as I go. Hello again. It is now Monday the 13th of October. I don't think I've read anything pretty much since I last put a clip for this vlog, which I think was only like 2 days ago. This is only the second clip for this vlog. It's fine. But I've just handed in a really big work project, and I think I'm going to give myself the rest of the afternoon off because I worked all weekend. So I'm going to sit here and I'm going to read The McDermotts of Ballycloran until I finish it and or have to go out this evening. I think I can probably finish this today. I did think about starting something new and like reading one of my short things like in one sitting, and then I thought, no, I just want to read The McDermotts of Ballycloran. I just want to read this wonderful book and finish it off. So I'm just going to sit here and read this and give myself a little bit of a reading afternoon, which will be lovely. And then I guess hopefully tomorrow I will pick up some new Victorian reads. So there we go, very quick clip today, but I'm just going to sit here and read, and I'll let you know what I think of this book when I finish it. So far, it's great. It's really great. Hello again, it's Tuesday evening, and I did indeed finish off reading The McDermotts of Ballycloran last night, which I thought was fantastic. Overall, just really great. A really good Anthony Trollope novel. I feel like I've already spoken about this quite a lot across this vlog and the previous vlog, so maybe I won't say too much about it here, but I feel like it's a really good Anthony Trollope novel, and it's very interesting because it's his debut novel, his first one, and I think you can see a lot of his themes and interests that like he comes back to later in his career, starting here, but also it is a angrier novel in some ways, I think, than his later books. Some of his later books are angry, but it has a sort of angry social criticism like element to it. I think his later books are gentler often, not always, and I quite liked that, and I thought it was effective, though it's a dark book in places, but it's really good, and I thought it was great. So hurrah for Anthony Trollope. I'm glad I finished that. That's been most of the first half of Victober, hasn't it? But that's fine. And then I have started this. So this is The Great God Pan by Arthur Machen. This is actually 3 stories by Arthur Machen here. So it's The Great God Pan, The Shining Pyramid, and The White People. I assume they're all from the Victorian period. I might double check that. I mean, it doesn't matter that much, does it? But, you know, if there's one that's actually from the Edwardian period, because I know he was writing later, maybe I'll save that till after Victober, but we'll see. But yes, I have started reading The Great God Pan, which I know is definitely Victorian, and I read the first chapter. It was quite grim, but very good. So I'm really intrigued to see where this is going. I think it's going to be quite a different Victorian read for me. Very dramatic first chapter. So yeah, The Great God Pan is like 80 pages, but it's in chapters. So it's, I guess, a novella, long short story. Not sure, but I'm very intrigued so far, and I'm looking forward to carrying on with this. Hello again. It is Thursday the 16th of October, and I've just finished reading The Great God Pan. So I read all 3 stories in this collection. So it's The Great God Pan, and then what are the other 2 called? The Shining Pyramid and The White People. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. I would say that I enjoyed The Great God Pan considerably more than the other 2. Like, I did enjoy the other 2, but I didn't think they were nearly so good as The Great God Pan. The Shining Pyramid I just didn't find it interesting, and then The White People was quite interesting, but the narrative style jarred with me because it's sort of a story within a story, and the bulk of the story is a sort of found manuscript that is just a wall of text. Like, there's no paragraph breaks for like 30 pages, which I just found a real chore to read. It's kind of meant to be the point, like it's sort of stream of consciousness, but I just found it like not very exciting narratively. But anyway, I really enjoyed The Great God Pan, which I thought was fascinating, and really creepy and sinister in a way that was really effective. And I think it did that thing that I often find Victorian horror does well, where it doesn't actually say that much and leaves a lot to your imagination, or leaves a lot unsaid, in a way that I find really effective and more like interesting than sort of in your face horror stuff, I suppose. So The Great God Pan starts off with a scientific experiment and something clearly goes wrong, and then we have another chapter where you're looking at a different thing, a sort of anecdote, a story that has been passed down, and then another chapter where we move to another character and you sort of get to piece together some strange happenings in London, and some sinister things going on through lots of different perspectives and lots of different sort of snapshots, which I thought worked really, really well as a storytelling technique, but also made it quite sinister. And I liked the story. I thought it was really intriguing. So I really enjoyed The Great God Pan, quite like the other 2, but not as much. And this was a really interesting read, and quite a different Victorian read in many ways. I mean, it kind of reminded me of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's in that sort of area, and there's something about the narrative voice and style that reminded me of that, as well as the sort of genre, I suppose. But I feel like I haven't read much else from the Victorian period that is in that ilk, so that was really fun. Nice to read a shorter thing as well, that took me a lot less time than the McDermott's of Ballycloran. Love that though, I did. So in terms of what I'm going to read next, I'm obviously still listening to my many audiobooks. I definitely have organised my audiobook listening badly this Victober, but there we go. I quite enjoyed reading a short thing, so I feel like I'm going to read another couple of short things and then read one other longer thing in like the final 10 days of October. That's my sort of vague plan. So I might read The Burial of the Rats by Bram Stoker, which is this short collection of short stories. I don't know how I'm going to feel about this because I don't like Dracula very much, but it's been a long time since I've read Dracula and it's the only thing I've read by Bram Stoker, so I'm kind of excited to give this a go. I think this has quite a few short stories in. And after The Great God Pan, I'm kind of feeling in a short story mood. I mean, I guess this was like one novella and 2 short stories, kind of. The Great God Pan is longer than the other 2. But anyway, so I think I'm going to start The Burial of the Rats. Although I do also have this. This is A London Plane Tree, Another Verse by Amy Levy. So if you watched my previous vlog, I read another poetry collection by Amy Levy in the first couple of days of October and loved it so much that I immediately bought myself another poetry collection by Amy Levy. And this wasn't on my Victober TBR, this was unplanned, but also it is only about 50 pages. And the poems in this one are all quite short. Like lots of them are like 4 lines. So this isn't going to take me very long. So I kind of do want to read this. Also, I was thinking I might like to film a like author spotlight on Amy Levy before the end of October. And so I'd kind of like to read this first. So I might read this and The Burial of the Rats over the next few days. Try and finish off these 2 by the end of the week and then start something longer next week and maybe finish off an audiobook as well. I have accepted now that I'm going to get through about a third / a quarter of my Victober TBR, and that's absolutely fine. I will hopefully read some other books from my Victober TBR in November. That's perfectly fine. So anyway, that is all for now. I will stop rambling and I will check in again soon.
Hello, good morning. It is Saturday and I'm off on a day trip today. I'm going to Stratford-upon-Avon to see a show at the Royal Shakespeare Theatre, not a Shakespeare show. I'm going to see Cyrano de Bergerac, which I'm really looking forward to. So not Victorian, but you know, fun literary day out. And I will do a little bit of reading on the train, I hope. So yeah, I'm taking with me The Burial of the Rats and the Amy Levy poetry, and I will see what I get through today.
Hello again. It is now Sunday the 19th of October and I had a really nice day out yesterday. It was lovely to go back to Stratford-upon-Avon and the play Cyrano de Bergerac was very, very good. Not Victorian, as I said, but it is 19th century. It's a French late 19th century play set in the 17th century and it was great. So that was really good. And I did indeed read yesterday The Burial of the Rats, which was not great. Yeah. I feel like maybe I just won't read any more Bram Stoker. I mean, I feel like maybe I'd be willing to try something by him that isn't horror, but considering how much I disliked Dracula as a teenager and how I was kind of like giving him another try with this, I feel like it was not very successful. So there's 5 stories in here, and the first one, Dracula's Guest, is like sort of, I think people think it may have been the original opening to Dracula that was scrapped, and it's a bit nothingy. And then the second story in here, The Judge's House, I actually do think is a really good ghost story. I thought that was good. The Burial of the Rats, the final story, the title story, was fine. And the other 2 stories were just very racist, which is not a huge surprise to find in work from the 19th century, but I feel like in both stories, it was such a central part of the story and the premise of the story was so bound up in racism that I just, didn't want to read them. I read a lot of classics, and obviously whenever you read classics, there's always a chance you're going to encounter some problematic stuff. And I feel like there's a certain degree to which I can find that like historically interesting, because while the history of prejudice isn't pleasant, it is like intellectually interesting, and sometimes a lot of prejudices come from particular fears that people had at particular points in time, and that can be interesting. But I think in these 2 stories, Gibbet Hill, and then I'm not going to say the name of the other story because the title is an offensive word for a Native American woman, both of those stories I just found so repugnant that I just didn't want to read them. You know, I think within the Victorian period there was obviously a lot of racism and xenophobia, and I think that works its way into horror literature in different ways. And I think there are some books, for example, like The Beetle by Richard Marsh, a horror novel where there is a deeply xenophobic element to the story, and part of the horror is about fear of otherness and fear of people who aren't British. But also within that story is a anti-imperialist strain going hand in hand with that, because part of the horror is about someone British going somewhere abroad, doing something that wasn't right, and therefore something is now after them from that other place where they went. So although there is sort of xenophobia very present within a book like The Beetle, there's also a anti-imperialist message present too, and so I find it very intellectually interesting, even though some bits of it aren't pleasant. Whereas I feel like the two stories in this collection by Bram Stoker were just awful. There are probably two different ways you could read the story that I won't read the title out of, and one of those readings might condemn the very racist character who is an American white man who spends a lot of time talking about his views of Native Americans, and was just horrible to read. There is one reading of that story where that man is condemned for his views and behaviour, and there was a point in the story where I was like, oh, maybe maybe this man is meant to be the horror, and then I got to like the last two lines and I was like, oh no, I don't think that was what Bram Stoker was saying. And I would recommend the short story The Judge's House, which you could go and just read on its own on Gutenberg if you fancy a ghost story. But the rest of this collection I didn't get on with. Meanwhile, I am so near the end of Hester. I've got like 2 hours left, and I will hopefully finish that over the next couple of days. I've also started reading A London Plane Tree and Other Verse by Amy Levy, poetry collection. This is great so far. I will hopefully finish this evening because we're doing some reading sprints on YouTube, live show, which I'm really looking forward to. So I should finish off that then. And I've also started reading Fantasies by George MacDonald on my Kindle, which I am really enjoying. I'm on like chapter 5, so not very far through, but it's also not very long. So I might read some of that in the reading sprints this evening as well. It's really good so far. It's really strange. A young man on his 21st birthday is given a key to a piece of furniture that belonged to his father, and when he opens it, a small fairy comes out and says, tomorrow you will go to fairyland. And then when he wakes up in the morning, he wakes up in the middle of a forest, and everything is strange, and all the trees and flowers are alive and have personalities, and it's just fascinating. So I'm really enjoying that so far. And I hope I will continue to have more success than I had with The Burial of the Rats. So yeah, that's all for now. I've got some reading sprints this evening, and then I will probably quickly check in after those reading sprints and let you know what I read. And after that, I will probably wrap up this vlog, I think, and post it tomorrow. Hello again, good evening. We've just finished up the reading sprints, which I really enjoyed. So I read a few more chapters of Fantasies, so I'm now like a third of the way through. Really enjoying it. It's quite short, so I'm hoping I'll finish it over the next few days, but I probably won't read that much more of it tonight. But I did also finish A London Plane Tree and Other Verse because it's so short and so good. Oh, I really love Amy Levy. I'm so glad I've read her poetry this Victober. It's been so great. I think there's one more poetry collection by her I have to read, which I kind of just want to also get immediately and read. Yeah, I just love her poetry. There's something about it that I just think is so exquisitely beautiful and so exquisitely sad in such a poignant way. And I just like her rhythm and rhyme and everything about her writing. So that's great. That's been a real highlight of Victober. Shall I read you a poem to end off this vlog? Why not? This is a little poem by Amy Levy called At a Dinner Party. With fruit and flowers the board is decked, the wine and laughter flow. I'll not complain. Could one expect so dull a world to know? You look across the fruit and flowers, my glance your glances find. It is our secret, only ours. since all the world is blind. I really like Amy Levy. I think I'm going to film a video all about Amy Levy in the next few days, so you'll have that to look forward to later this week, I hope, because I've just been loving her poetry this Victober. So yeah, okay, that was a better read than The Burial of the Rats. And I'm really enjoying Fantasties, and I'm really enjoying all my many audiobooks, which I really need to make some progress on, but yeah, it's fine. So I will wrap up this vlog here, and I will continue with my Victober reading for the next 10 days. There are 10 days left of Victober. No, 11 days left of Victober. And I have lots more things I want to read, so I'll see how far I get. Do let me know down in the comments how your Victober's going. What have you been reading? Any highlights so far? Any lowlights? Thanks very much for watching, and I'll be back very soon with another bookish video.